Hi G. Okay, so this is my week 1 assignment through video form. I will type it in Korean. It just will take me some time and I will send it in. So I hope you enjoy. For the week 1's assignment, I decided to do a focus on the Temptations and the Motown era of the 1960s through 80s. This era is very influential in the Black community and globally throughout varying genres within the music industry, with many modern day artists being heavily influenced by the Motown label or the group Temptations specifically. Artists varying across many different genres have even sampled from artists of Motown and covered songs, just like the Beatles, who covered the Marvelettes' Please Mr. Postman. And still to this day, Motown and that era is one of the African American community's greatest pride, just due to how successful it was and influential it was during the time. This Black-owned company was labeled the most influential sound of the 20th century, with the Temptations being deemed the #1 successful R&B group of all time by Billboard in 2017. And that's due to their immeasurable records. The Temptations have 16 #1s from the last time I checked, albums, 14 #1 singles, and 43 top 10 singles across about 5 decades. During this era, it was very hard and difficult to get an instant success. We didn't have social media, right? My parents didn't have social media, not me. So it took them eight songs until they got their first #1 hit with The Way You Do the Things You Do. Before this, they were coined the no-hit wonders through the distinctive Motown sound, but it ended up prevailing and shifting that over time. This reminded me of like when BTS, as they were coming up, because they're from a small label, they would call all these names. I remember like they were accused of plagiarism and all that stuff. So that kind of just like connects in that way of like some of the stories of coming from like a bit of a hard time and working and dedicating and then coming up to great success. Now, the Motown era sound, which is very famous, also known with the moniker Golden Oldies, was known for its upbeat tempo, its memorable hook. So it was always like a 2/4 shuffle beat or the 4/4 hard beat, bass beat. If you don't understand it, I apologize, but my music people will know. Someone can explain it further if need be. They also had a hybrid of pop and soul, and it was considered significant during this time because there was a lot of fighting and hardships, and people needed a way to escape. So also significant was that this was an establishment of a Black-owned enterprise. Now, this was an enterprise created by a Black person during the time of division in the United States. What was even more remarkable is that this Black-owned business was backed by a racially diverse team promoting a united force. So they were just like, we're not down with this, and we want to be able to share it through our music, but also work together and show how the world should be, how the United States should be. So they promoted a lot of love and unity through their work. The mainstream industry was very selective and exclusionary, a lot more than it is now, of non-Caucasian artists during this period. Through the Temptations broke down some of the barriers of entry to the industry, deeming them historically important in music, according to Rolling Stones, due to the following reasons. So they made doo-wop style groups popular again. Doo-wop is like the doo, bop, bop, oh. Yeah, that. Now, that was a 50s style, but the Temptations took it, transformed the sound, and made it cool again, according to White. And White is a co-author of the book Motown, The Sound of Young America. You guys should check it out. It is an amazing book. The standard for groups during the time, they only had 1 or 2 lead singers, but the Temptations did a rotation. All of them was able to sing lead, so they would always change who was lead on each songs, creating a new industry standard and demonstrating their versatility. They were very dedicated and involved in their craft, which showed through their songs and influences for other generations of R&B groups, such as Boyz II Men. So, they were putting in the hours. One of the things that Barry Gordon was quoted stating is like, once you stepped foot into Motown, also known as Hitsville, USA, you were either writing, you were performing, like through singing, you were producing, you were manager, you were always working, work. And it kind of reminds me of how like the guys put in their effort and their work, and it shows through their music, BTS. So similar mentality, which is probably a part of why they have such great success. Continuing with the versatility of the group, they were able to change the styles of their song. The Temptations can go from a sweet song and a very pretty melody from My Girl to Ball of Confusion, which is a more hardcore and heavy sound with an upbeat tempo. Each member, their individual vocal abilities made them stand out from other groups. There were members like Eddie, who had a very unique high falsetto. Like, it was a very high falsetto for a man during that time. And it even inspired artists such as Prince. And then there was Melvin, who had a very deep bass voice. So he was having the deepest sounding bass during the time. So combining that all together definitely created really cool, unique sounds. They were also able to adapt and incorporate the constant changing of sounds throughout the decades that they've been around, and they're still active. So they would go from like swinging soul when that was popular to funk during the 80s when that became a new thing, and then with the 90s they did like a little upbeat to My Girl with a song called Stay. They took some of My Girl and made it more 90s neo soul, and they made it to match the genre during that time, which was led by P. Diddy. You should check it out. It's a nice song. And furthermore, they opened the doors for other similar acts to enter the market who became the Temptations' competitors, such as the Spinners. Now, I guess you would say in modern day that they paved the way. They were paving the way. With the Temptations influencing the standards for music groups, Motown was influencing the communities that were listening. And it wasn't just the Black community, it was global. It was universal. They were monumental during protests, such as the Detroit riots in 1967, which was against police brutality in Black neighborhoods, and even during the Civil Rights Movement, where they made an album based off of Martin Luther King. And there's just so much more information than that I can only fit within this short period of time, that if you have questions, you can ask. Barry Gordy was quoted saying, "I wanted songs for whites, blacks, Jews, and Gentiles." So that was his saying, just letting you know. And that was their company's goal, was to produce music for everyone. Motown was created to represent the youth of America at the time, with the sound and the song subjects being universally relatable. This reminds me of the boys of BTS. Their songs are made to be universally relatable. The only difference is it not in English, but it still relates to everyone. It was so influential that the company broke through barriers in other countries, such as the United Kingdom. Motown's very huge there. I went to a Temptation concert in Leeds. It was sold out. It was wonderful. I was probably one of the youngest people there, but it was excellent. Oh my gosh. Now, this music created by Motown was first an escape from everyday life, the escapism theory. And majority of the songs focused on love and heartbreak. But eventually they started adding political styled anthems as the United States culture was shifting with ongoing conversations about inequality and segregation. Though there's still a lot more change that's needed, they still helped make monumental steps. Both the Temptations and their label Motown made giant social cultural shifts within the communities and the industry, similar to what BTS is doing now. They were the minority groups making their mark in the Caucasian-dominated marketplace, and they were doing it at the right time. They weren't, per se, better than other people. It's just what they did and how they did it worked for that time period, and it showed through. And there we go. That is my report. I hope you enjoyed this. Okay, bye.